Welcome to this edition of Threshers Spotlight. I'm joined by Threshers pitcher Cole Irvin. And Cole, you're off to a pretty good start this season. Let's start by talking about your pitch selection. You seem to be a guy who attacks with everything in your repertoire. Can you show us what it is you throw?
Yeah, I mean, I throw a two-seam fastball, a four-seam fastball. Every once in a while, a one-seam fastball where my fingers are across only one seam of the ball. I'll throw a slider and then a curveball, which isn't much different in grip for me, but it's just the way I throw it. And then a changeup, which is probably my best pitch, my favorite go-to in any count.
And could you tell us a little bit more about the one seam? That's not something that everybody throws. So how did you begin throwing that and entering that into your repertoire?
Well, it's funny is like I learned the one seam from a teammate in college, and he just always threw it, and I was like, why is that ball moving so much? And he finally showed me and introduced me to couple different grips on a one seam. You can go in between the seams, you can go across one seam literally, or you're just not throwing a traditional fastball, so the ball is going to naturally move more. Depending on your wrist position or your hand position, it'll cut or run arm side. So when we say a ball runs or sinks, that means the ball's moving towards your arm side. So I mean, it has a lot more movement, a little less control, but I mean, if you're looking for a perfect strikeout fastball, that's not up in the zone, you definitely want to try at least a one seam, because that ball's going to sink a lot.
And you seem to be a guy who works quickly on a hill. Is that part of your philosophy, that just kind of get it and throw it when you're out there?
Yeah, I mean, it goes with anything. I mean, if you're reacting, doesn't matter if I'm throwing a baseball or doing something in my normal everyday life. If you're reacting to something and just understanding if you do a good enough job to do something, you're going to do well. So the faster you work, the less time you have to think and second guess yourself. And so that's where I get caught up, in bad starts for myself, or me not getting off to a good start. I might be overthinking. So for myself, I try to limit the amount of time I think, and that means working quick, taking good deep breaths, and just not worrying about the game clock, because the game clock is sometimes gets in guys' heads for the first time. This is my first year dealing with it, and when it first came on, it may have been a surprise to some people, but like I was like kind of nervous in Dunedin, because that was the first time I ever had to deal with a game clock. And but I mean, I was already naturally working fast, so once I realized that I was getting a pitch off around 6 or 7 seconds, I realized, okay, I don't need to worry about that anymore. I can just continue to pitch the way I pitch, and the ball just kept rolling for me that start. So I just kind of let it happen. Sometimes when we were in St. Lucie, I was pitching with some big leaguers, and they take their time in the box. So you're not going to always have your quick go-to punches. So you just got to react to the game. So most of the time I like to work quick, but sometimes that changes.
You've talked about your changeup as being one of your go-to secondary offerings. A guy that you said that you've watched growing up was Cole Hamels, a guy who also played here as a Clearwater Thresher in the early 2000s. What did you learn from watching him?
I think it's just his command, his demeanor. For me, my mechanics resemble a lot of what he does. So once people started telling me that in high school and stuff, I started just taking that to another level. I started watching what he did in sequences in terms of pitch to pitch, what was so distinct, what was so different, what made him so good. And luckily for me, I just kind of took the mindset that he used is, fastball, changeup, command, and okay slider and curveball, and I'm happy to be where he played once, and just trying to find my own game. I don't want to be a Cole Hamels, I want to be a Cole Irvin, but at the same time, he did a lot of things that I liked, which was when you're behind an account, pitching with a changeup, or when you're ahead in an account, pitching with a changeup. The changeup command was so unique and so great that it was hard for me not to put that into my repertoire.
And you, of course, were drafted by the Phillies in the 5th round out of Oregon. You'd been drafted a couple of times prior to that, out of high school and then as a redshirt sophomore. How close were you to actually signing both of those times before? Was it something that you really considered, or were you set on going back to school?
Out of high school, I was talking with the Blue Jays in the 1st round. They actually ended up taking my buddy Chase DeYoung. And who's now pitching. He's in the starting rotation with the Mariners. But I wanted to go to school. I wanted to get my degree, and luckily for me, despite having Tommy John surgery, I ended up getting my degree in 3.5 years and majored in sociology. So my schooling was the most important for me. Before I stepped into pro ball, I wanted to be as close to being done as possible. When Pittsburgh rolled around, it was really hard because I was a quarter away from graduating, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I had a good enough year. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to school, finish my degree, and play baseball, and work my tail off to get to where I was, and I'm happy to be a Philly now.
And aside from your degree and playing baseball while you were at the University of Oregon, you also did some radio work on the side.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? What kind of segment did they have you doing?
Well, so like during baseball season, we did a like a hot corner type of deal where I would interview my own teammates and ask them about where they're from, where they grew up. Like for me, we had 2 Canadians on our team, so we got to know about hockey a little bit more than we should have, and on a radio show for baseball. But we had fun with it, and it was more or less just to get Duck fans involved, Oregon Duck fans involved with the baseball program, because I didn't feel like we had fan-player interaction, and so I just wanted to see if we could up that a little bit. And to my knowledge, they're still doing it a little bit, not as much as I was, because I had a whole quarter off of school, so I wasn't in school, so I was trying to do stuff. But it was fun. I had a blast. Definitely got to see and understand and just commend what you do. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how many details go into not just calling a game, but just radio in general. With the production and all that. So it's amazing to me seeing all that stuff combined.
And getting your degree in 3.5 years, you had a little bit of time to work a side job as well.
Yeah.
You spent some time as a barista. What was the weirdest order you ever had anybody ask for?
Well, first, shout out Dutch Brothers Coffee. If anyone is ever in Arizona or the Pacific Northwest, meaning Oregon or Washington, go to Dutch Brothers Coffee. It is so good. It is my favorite. Sorry for that, but it was great. I had a blast. I think the fun thing for me, the best part of it's not necessarily the order. It was the dogs that came in. Like the dogs were always like dressed up for some reason. Like I'm not kidding you. Like the dogs had like the little Chihuahuas had like their vests on, because in the Northwest it's cold most of the time. So and I worked the graveyard shift. So anyone that came in with pets, they had sweaters on, and like one dog had a bow. And I was like, what are you doing to your animal? But at the same time, it was a blast. I had a lot of fun. There's so many hidden drink orders. There's a Snickers bar, there's a Butterfinger, and none of those candies are in it. It just tastes like it. And we had the ability to make those drinks, and it was a lot of fun. Had a blast. It was just a great company to work for. It just had so much fun.
That sounds fantastic and awesome stuff. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And for the Threshers Broadcast Network, I'm Kirsten Karbach.
Have you heard? If you're in the game, well, then the stroke's the word.